wanted to make a video about my birth plan. I hesitated to do this video at all because if someone were to ask me if I had a birth plan, I would probably say no. I don't have like this long drawn out written thing to give a nurse or anything like that, and I really only have a few things that I know for sure that I want to happen. So I wouldn't really call it a birth plan, but I guess in a sense that it is. And since some of you are curious and just want to know, I thought that I would let you guys know what I'm thinking in my head. Since I've already had one birth, I know for a fact that it's not going to go as planned. Jane's birth was actually a lot better than I thought, and only because I was just really nervous about being in pain. I don't like being in pain. I've never been in a hospital before her birth, and I was just really nervous. I think that I just had a very good experience because maybe I was anticipating something a lot worse. So when I think about my birth this time, I kind of hope and wish that it will go the same as it did with Jane's, because it did go so well. But I know that anything could happen, and most likely I will not be being induced. The one thing for sure that I know will happen, or I'm hoping will happen, is that I will be getting an epidural. I do not do pain very well. If I have like the slightest headache, I feel like I cannot function. I feel sick to my stomach, and I just don't like pain at all. So the epidural really helped me in Jane's birth. Basically, I had to get the epidural twice with Jane. They gave it to me once. My legs started to go numb, and then they weren't numb anymore, and I felt the contractions again, and they had to take the epidural out and try again. And I was also told that sometimes some people are just immune to the epidural and the epidural doesn't work. So I was really nervous about that, but it ended up working out the second time, and so I had the epidural. I know that my epidural wasn't super strong with Jane because I did feel them stitching me up after birth. I know that's kind of weird. And also I got the feeling back in my legs pretty quickly after she came out. And I know my best friend that had a little girl before me said that it took her legs a lot longer to feel them again, and also she felt nothing whatsoever during the birth. So I know that there's different stages of the epidural that you can have. So I'm not sure what I had, but I know that it wasn't like super strong, but I definitely was numb, so that was nice. I felt contractions at 6 centimeters with Jane, and I do not want to do that again. The scary part that I'm feeling this time is to go into labor on my own. And because I was induced last time with Jane, I went into the hospital. I was not in labor. I got hooked up to everything. And then I went into labor while I was laying in the bed. And to me, that was ideal just because I didn't have to be in pain at home or be rushed and try to get to the hospital. I know most likely I will get to the hospital in time, but it's just the nerves that are getting to me about going into labor on my own. Finding someone to watch Jane, if they're here, if they're not here, you know, things like that. If I were to be induced, I would know when I was going in, and I could have someone here to watch Jane. I'd have our bags packed. It would be a little bit more nonchalant, I guess is the word, and it would just be a lot calmer. But the other thing is, when I was induced with Jane, I actually went in for an appointment. My 38-week appointment, thinking everything was fine. Chris was at a meeting, a work meeting, and I just went in thinking that it was just like a regular checkup, and she sent me straight over to the hospital to be induced right then. So that was a little bit scary because my bags weren't all packed. I had to call Chris. They wouldn't let me go home. I had to go straight over to the hospital. My doctor's office was attached to the hospital, so I just had to like walk over. But now that I'm looking back, it might have been good because I didn't have to have like the night before and like try to go to sleep and thinking about waking up in the morning and being induced. So if I had a planned induction this time and I had to actually know okay, in 24 hours I'm going to be induced, that might be a little bit nerve-wracking or anxiety ridden to me. So we will see. But as far as what goes down in the hospital, whenever I get there, I'm going to tell them that I want the epidural as soon as possible. Obviously, if I'm being induced and I'm not even in labor yet, they'll probably wait until I'm in labor to give me the epidural. And I know that they told me at the hospital tour that if you do want an epidural, you need to tell them right away so that you can get on a list, because the hospital that I'm going to be giving birth in is very busy. And so if you wait until the last minute, you might be on a list and have to wait longer for the epidural. So that freaks me out just a little bit. So I know that I'm going to tell them as soon as I get there that, hey, I want the epidural. And if I'm already in labor and I get there, then I'm going to say, like, hurry up, I need the epidural. Hopefully that will work out in my favor. But like I said, I have felt contractions at 6 centimeters. I know that I can do it, and hopefully it won't be very long before the epidural comes and kicks in. Besides the epidural, there's nothing else that I can really think of that I want to happen. Obviously, I want to try to have a vaginal birth and not have to have a C-section, so that's something to think about and tell the nurse, obviously, and I know that that's their priority as well. I know with Jane, I had like this picture of like, oh, we should play music, or Chris should bring some cards and we should play a card game while we're waiting. And to be honest, that might work for some people, but for me, when big things like that are happening, and I would say birth is like a really big thing, I kind of zone out and I kind of just zone into what I'm doing at that time. So I remember when I was just on the Pitocin and my contractions were starting to kick in and I was just laying in the bed waiting. I remember having the TV on, but I don't remember what was on. Like, I wasn't even paying attention really. I was just kind of like laying there, spaced out, probably because I didn't know that it was going to be happening that day, so I was kind of probably trying to take it all in. And I just remember Chris was over to the side kind of doing his own thing, and I just wasn't really in the mood to play a card game or listen to music. And I have a feeling it'll be like that too. I think part of my plan is to make sure I remind Chris to take lots of pictures before and after, as well as video. And obviously I can take pictures too, especially after Jackson and everything in the hospital. We do have some pictures of Jane, but again, I was just so zoned out and zoned into Jane that I kind of just stored everything in my head. And I have good memories and everything, but I think it would be fun to have a lot of it on video and then a lot of pictures too. So that's a part of my plan, which I know isn't really part of like a birth plan, but it's what I want to make sure happens. So besides the epidural, like I said, there's nothing else really that's on my plan except for to have a healthy baby and a healthy delivery. And so I'm not really too worried. Chris asked if I was scared or nervous, and I'm really not. I feel like I was a lot more scared and nervous for Jane's birth, like I said before. And now that I have had a good birth, I'm not really scared. I'm more excited and I kind of just want to get it over with. Hopefully I'll be able to just relax and the epidural will kick in, and hopefully I'll have some nice nurses that'll take care of me, and I know Chris will take care of me. And then afterwards, I just want to be able to relax in the hospital. I remember feeling like I wanted to leave the hospital really quickly when we had Jane, because we didn't have any family that was coming to visit or anything. We didn't have any visitors except for our one friend that lived down the street from us, and they were actually watching our dogs as well, and our dogs didn't do very good with us gone. So I kind of was just like rushing to get back, and then once we were home, I was like, oh, I kind of wish we were back in the hospital because those nurses were taking such good care of us. So I feel like this time I'll make sure to just relax, and while we're in the hospital, just take advantage of the nurses bringing us whatever we need. And this time we will have family members visiting us, especially because somebody needs to bring Jane to come see us, and there will be people watching Jane here, so I'm sure they'll come visit us in the hospital, and then whoever else wants to come can come, and then we'll have so many visitors after when we get home as well. So there's just a lot to look forward to, and it will be a lot different than Jane's, but hopefully in general, just the whole vibe and the easiness of it all will happen this time as well, fingers crossed. So I basically just didn't have a plan, and I'm not going to have a plan like I said, I don't want to let myself down, and I don't really have too many expectations as far as what will happen. I kind of just want to go with the flow, because when things don't work out with me, I tend to get anxious, and I don't want to feel anxious. So I kind of just want to do whatever the nurses are telling me to do and just go with that. As long as I am not in a whole bunch of pain, I think that I'll be fine. So I know this video is probably a little bit boring because, like I said, there wasn't much to my birth plan. I know I've seen these other videos of other people's birth plans, and they had so many things planned and so many things and expectations for their birth, but maybe I can encourage you to just lay back and not worry too much about the delivery part or even the labor part. If this is your first time about to have a baby, just relax and let the nurses know what you're feeling or what you're thinking. They'll take care of you and make sure that you get your wishes most of the time. So I hope this video was a little bit helpful for somebody. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you guys in my next video. I did want to mention too that I have links below for my Instagram and for my Pinterest if you guys want to follow me there. I put a ton of pictures on Instagram almost daily, so you guys can catch up with me there as well. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.